Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. In the last video we saw part 1 of the balloon shooter game. In this video we'll be seeing part 2 of the balloon shooter game. I'll be showing you how to shoot these balloons using an arrow and a paddle. For time being I'm going to stop this program. Okay, I'm going to choose a sprite called arrow 1. Okay, I'll place it where I need it. I'll place it over here. I want this arrow to face upwards, so I'll go to this direction and enter 0. Now it is facing upwards. I want the sprite to move towards the right side by 10 steps. Each time I'm going to press the right arrow key on my keyboard, and I want this arrow to move towards the left by 10 steps when I press the left arrow key. Thus I can do it in two different ways. The first method I'll show you. You need to go to the events palette. Just drag and drop when space key press event. Okay. Then just click on this drop down and choose right arrow. I'm going to duplicate the same event, and here I'm going to drop down and choose left arrow. Now we have two different events. What code need to be run under this event need to be chosen now. I'll go to motion. If I'm pressing the left arrow key, I want this sprite to move towards the left by 10 steps. So you need to change the X by 10. So I'll go to motion. Here I'm going to choose change X by 10 and put it under when right arrow key pressed. I'm just duplicating this, and when the left arrow key is pressed, it needs to move towards the left, so the left x-axis will be negative, so I'm going to give the value -10. Now let us check if this works. I'm just going to click this green flag, and now I'm going to press the right arrow key on my keyboard. It's moving towards right, and I'm pressing the left arrow key, and it's moving towards the left. There is another method for programming the same thing, that is, instead of running two parallel events, I'm going to do a single program. That is, just go to the events. When green flag is clicked, what should happen? I'll go to control. I have a condition called if then else. I'll just drag and drop this. Over here I have an option of giving the condition, so I'll go to the sensing palette and just take key space pressed condition and put it over here. I'll just click on the drop down here and choose right arrow. If I'm pressing the right arrow key, then it needs to move 10 steps towards the right, so I'll go to motion, choose change X by 10 option block, and just put it under this. In the else condition, under the else, we do not have an option of giving a condition such that left arrow key pressed. So I'll once again go to the control palette and take if then condition, if then statement, and put it under the else. Now it becomes the else if statement. I have an option of giving the condition here. So I'll go to the sensing and choose key space press condition and just put it here, and go to the drop down and choose left arrow key pressed. Else if left arrow key is pressed, this sprite needs to move towards the left, so I'm going to duplicate this, put under this. Moving towards the left is a negative value, so I'm going to give -10. And when I'm going to click this program, this is not going to work because this code is going to run within microseconds, and it is going to get over. It is going to check this condition within microsecond. I want it to happen continuously. That's why I'll go to control, choose the forever loop. Under the forever, I'm going to put this condition, and this forever I'm going to put under this green flag click. Now let us just click this green flag and check if it is working. Yes, it is working very smoothly compared to the previous one. I think I can choose this code. Now for time being, again I'm going to stop the program. Now I want this arrow to shoot the bullets, so I'm going to choose a sprite called the paddle. In order to shoot the bullets, I'm going to choose paddle. This size of the bullet is quite big, so I'm going to reduce this size. You have an option of reducing the size over here. It is 100. I'm going to give it as 70, and this direction needs to be facing upwards, so I'll give it as 0. Now I'll place it behind this arrow. I'll place the bullet behind this arrow. I want this paddle to appear. I don't want this bullet to appear as soon as I'm going to click the green flag. I want it to appear only when I'm going to press the key bar on my keyboard. So what I'll do, I'll go to events, I'll go to when green flag click, and I'll go to the looks, and I'll just hide it. When I need to actually show it up is when I'm going to press the key button on my keyboard, then this need to shoot out the bullet. At that time it need to show it up. So what I will do, I'll go to control, I'll go to events. In the events I have an option called when space key press. When space key press, then it need to shoot the bullets. So when space key press, under the control I have an option called create a clone of myself. So each time I'm going to press the key space, it is going to create a clone of itself at the interval of 1 second. So under the control, I have an interval of 1 second. So whenever a clone is created, so again I'll go to when I start a clone. Whenever a clone is created, it needs to move from bottom to the top. We know the screen length is 360 pixels. So if the bullet is over here, it has already covered the 30 pixels here. If it is reaching top, then it is covering 30 pixels here. 30 plus 30 will be 60, and the remaining 300 pixels need to be covered. In order to do that, okay, we need to go to control. Under the control we have the repeat, and repeat 30 times, and we'll go to what to repeat, that is changing y by positive value of 10. So we'll go to motion, and we'll take change y by positive 10, and take this change y by positive 10, and I've hidden it over here when clicked, and in the looks, I have option called show, and this bullet shouldn't shoot out wherever it requires, like somewhere randomly it shouldn't come out. It should exactly come from behind this arrow. It needs to come from behind this arrow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a change here, that is when I start a clone, go to the place where the arrow is. So I'll go to motion, and I have an option called go to random position. Just drag and drop it over here, that under when I start a clone, and click on the drop down here and choose arrow 1. That is whenever it is going to create a clone, it is going it'll be starting from the place where the arrow sprite is present. Now, okay, it is going to reach over here, that is it is going to complete the 300 pixels, and then it needs to delete itself. So under the control you have the delete clone, so we'll just under the control we have the delete clone, just take the delete clone. Now let's see how this works. So I'm going to press the key bar, and it is starting a clone after each second, and it is going to um, reaching y-axis and then deleting itself. It is moving towards the right, I'm pressing the arrow, and it is moving towards the left, I'm pressing the space button. It is going to reach the end and then deleting itself. One more step is left now, that is when this paddle is going to hit the balloon, it needs to delete itself. So for that, I'm going to take the event called when I start a clone again for this paddle, and I'm going to control, and under control we have forever. So forever it needs to keep checking if it is touching the balloon. So I'll take the if then statement here, and I'll go to sensing, and under the sensing I have an option called the touching mouse pointer. I'll just drag and drop it over here, click on the drop down and choose if the paddle is going to touch the balloon. If the paddle is going to touch the balloon, I'm going to delete this clone. So under this control you have an option called delete this clone option. That is fine for the paddle, but what about the balloon part? So I click on the balloon here. So even the balloon needs to disappear once the paddle is hitting the balloon. So what we'll do, we'll write a condition for the balloon also. That is, when this clone of the balloon is started, keep checking. That is, you go to the control. Forever you keep checking. That is, if you are going to touch the paddle. So I'll go to sensing and give if you're touching the paddle condition. What actually it need to do, it the balloon should disappear. So I'll go to the looks, and I'll just take the hide option, and the balloon is going to disappear. Along with that, let the balloon create a sound. So I'm going to the sound option, I'm going to choose the start pop sound. Okay, whenever the paddle is going to hit the balloon, it's going to give a sound pop and then hide itself. So let's see how it works. So it is balloon is disappearing, paddle is disappearing, and it is creating a sound when it is going to touch the balloon. So this was for part 2 of the balloon shooter game. In the next part I'll be showing how to note the score and give condition for the game.